everyone, I'm Kalthoff. Welcome to a Stamping to Share video. We are going to create a beautiful card with the Special Reasons bundle from Stampin' Up's 2017 Occasions catalog. This is the card we are recreating, and you can see how it sparkles and shines. And I'm going to show you how to darken up the center of your flower and yet have the edges be a little bit darker so that you have this kind of burst of lightness through the middle. And this is a birthday card, so when you open it up, it says happy birthday on the outside and wishing you a beautiful day on the inside. And so let's go ahead and get started, and we will make this beautiful card together. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need our base card, and I am using So Saffron, and I have cut it at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored it at 4 1/4. And so I'm going to go ahead and use my bone folder. I'm just going to fold along that score line, give that a press so that this card will lie flat for us while we work with it. We're going to set this aside a minute. We are going to start with our inside panel. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and this is in Very Vanilla, and I did take the liberty of stamping the inside sentiment. And now we are just going to take this beautiful die cut with the stylish stems, framelets, and we are going to adhere this to the inside panel. So to do that, I'm just going to get my silicone mat out here. I'm going to put a little glob of glue up there, and then I have 1/6 of our Stampin' Sponge held together with a binder clip. I'm just going to add some glue to the back of this, and then we are going to flip this around, and we're just going to set this right here on the corner of our card, just like this, so that it's kind of bursting out from the lower left corner. Then I'll go ahead, I'll take my scissors, and I'm just going to trim this even with the edges of my inside panel. Then we'll just go ahead and attach this with some snail and set this right here, making sure that all of our borders are nice and even. So our inside panel is done. It looks great. Now let's work on the outside panel. We're going to start by embossing a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic black paper with our dynamic hexagon folder from Stampin' Up. And that is going to look like this. So I've used the Big Shot platform, and then you put your folder directly onto your platform and top it with one cut plate, because this particular folder is extremely thick so that it gives you a nice deep pattern. Look at this beautiful deep pattern. Just gorgeous. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to use some lace doilies first of all, and our lace doilies are also found in our Occasions 2017 catalog. What I love about them is that they're laser cut, so they're very detailed, and one side is Very Vanilla and the other side is Whisper White, which gives you so much more versatility. So I'm going to take my lace doily, and we are just going to cut that in half. And then again, I'm going to use that little trick with the glue. So I'm going to bring this in, because this works just great not only with die cuts but also with our lace doilies. So we're going to put the glue on the white side here because we want the vanilla to go to the top. And then I'm going to set this on here. All right, then once that's attached, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to do a little bit of a wrap here with some gold natural trim, and I'm going to wrap that with a couple pieces of Scotch tape. Okay, so once we have that wrapped, then we can get started putting some of the beautiful decorations on this card. So let me bring the original card back in. So what we've done is we've got the black ready, we've got the doily on there, and we've wrapped it with some ribbon. So now we're just going to go ahead and start putting some of these leaves on here, because the leaves will help us know where to put our flowers. So let me show you what I did. I have already gone ahead and I have cut out some leaves, and here's another one. We are going to be layering that over the top of a leaf that I already have cut out, and that looks like this. And how I made this leaf, let me go ahead and show you that real quickly, the stamping process that's involved. I went ahead and I took that full solid leaf that's in the stamp set, and I inked it up with Pear Pizzazz first. Then I just took my sponge with a little bit of Always Artichoke on it, and I went ahead and I just sponged all the way around, and then I stamped it, and then I cut it out. And so that way you have something that has a little bit of a two-tone look to it. Then I'm going to set this right here, and again, I'm going to use my wonderful silicone mat, add a little more glue, and we are going to just go ahead and we'll be adding a little bit of glue to this leaf cutout, and we're just going to layer that right here on top of the leaf that I've already stamped and cut out. So you have something that looks just like this. And then this is going to be put right onto our card. Then as long as we have our silicone mat here, we're going to add a little more glue, and we are going to do another cutout. So I've gone ahead and I've done this in advance. First, I ran it through with this one, and then I went ahead and I took this outline shape and cut this out. So I did this with basic black paper, just a scrap that I had laying around. And now what I'm going to do is I also ran this through the Big Shot machine, this particular piece, with some gold glimmer. And what I'm going to do is layer this piece on top of the gold glimmer. And so let me get it all lined up here. And then we're just going to glue that in place. And so it looks like it needs to go like that. So I'll try to remember how that went. Let me add a little more glue. You do use quite a bit of glue when you do this technique, because about half of it dries before you can actually use it. But it makes putting on your little cutouts so much easier that it's totally worth it. So if you'll notice, I did quite a bit of extra glue on here because we're sticking it onto glimmer. And whenever you're working with glimmer, you need to make sure that you have enough on there, because usually the only thing that sticks to glimmer is a glue dot. But the multi-purpose liquid glue does work, and it works pretty well. So it's just that we usually don't use it because it's kind of messy with glimmer, but this really takes care of the mess. So most of the mess stays on the mat, which is really nice. All right, so while we're waiting for this to dry real good, let's go ahead and stamp our flower. So I have some So Saffron ink, and I'm just going to take this flower, and it's a solid flower, but it has little speckles in because it's supposed to look a little bit vintage, and so you won't get a completely solid image with it. And then we're going to take some Peekaboo Peach on a wedge of our Stampin' Sponge, and I'm just going to lightly sponge that all around the outer edges of this flower. And then we can go ahead and stamp it right here. And you have this gorgeous look. And so you can see that the edges have a little bit more of a peachy tone while the center of it remains yellow. So I did go ahead and I did this in advance. So I've gone ahead, run it through the Big Shot machine, and I have this cut out. So now what we need to do is sponge these edges. So I'm going to take again the Peekaboo Peach on my sponge, and we're just going to lightly sponge all of these edges so they're not such a sharp contrast to the rest of the flower. And it would really be a sharp contrast when we hold it up next to our basic black that we're going to be putting this against. And so I love that we can soften it up with a little bit of sponging. Now you'll notice on the actual card that I have this center part a little bit darker. So to do that, all I did is I took an ordinary Q-tip and I just put it into, I should show you, I put it right into my ink. This is So Saffron ink. So it's actually just So Saffron on top of So Saffron, but it will darken it up. So I'm just going to gently tap that right into the center of this flower, just like so. And that's what it looks like when it's all tapped in. Isn't that gorgeous? Just a fun little tip for you as far as adding a little bit more dimension to your flowers. So now let's go ahead and start putting these things actually onto the front panel of our card. The very first thing we're going to do is this leaf, and that's really easy because it's just going to drop down right here by this ribbon with this edge of the leaf very close to the edge of our panel. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to just loosely set these right here so we kind of know where they need to be. And we can see that we need to have 2 sets of leaves right here. So I did prepare those in advance just to save a little bit of time. And again, I'm just putting them on with some multi-purpose liquid glue. And I know that we'll want one here, so I'll just kind of stick it up here. And we're going to want one on the bottom portion right about here. So we'll just stick that in there, just like so. And that's all there is as far as positioning our leaves. Then we can go ahead and we'll just glue this particular piece, the floral glimmer window. We can already glue that down. As you can see, I'm using quite a bit of glue because there is a lot of dimension on this folder, and I want to make sure that it's going to stick. So I'm going to hold that in place for just a second, and that looks pretty good. Then you know what, before this is totally dry, I'm going to pull this up because I just realized I want this to go under my ribbon because I'm going to be putting a bow here. So I just moved that a little bit so I could put this leaf under the ribbon. There we go. Now we're ready to put this flower piece right here. So let me go ahead and do that with some dimensionals. And as you can see, I use 3 dimensionals. So we're just going to set this now so it's right like so. And isn't that gorgeous? So really, your card could almost be done at a bow, but we do want to make this a birthday card. So what I'm going to show you next is when you get your stamp set, you have something that looks like this. And you can actually, let me pull it out of here. It actually looks like this. Well, I would not throw away that inner piece because that inner piece can also be used like a stamp. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So again, I have just a little scrap of manila, and we're going to ink it up with So Saffron, and then I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to sponge the edges with Peekaboo Peach. And so just like that, then we'll set this right here, and you can see we have something that has a little more yellow in the middle with Peekaboo Peach on the outside. Then I'm just going to ink up Happy Birthday with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And then we can go ahead and stamp the happy birthday right in the center. And doesn't that look cool? I just love it. And so then what you want to do is, again, using the Big Shot machine, you're going to just take that scrap, run it through the Big Shot machine, and cut it out. So this is one I prepared for you in advance. And you can see that it's lighter through the center and a little bit darker on the outside. So what we want to do now is sponge these edges so that everything kind of blends together. So again, I'm just taking my sponge wedge, and again using Peekaboo Peach, and we're just sponging all the way around. And now this is ready to go onto our card. So we're going to put this on with dimensionals. And as you can see, I used 2 dimensionals, and we're going to set this right down here in the lower left portion of this card. Make sure it gets down low enough so we have room for our ribbon. Then we're just going to do a little ribbon tie on, and to do that I just take about 4 inches of ribbon and I cut that off, and we're just going to tie that on. And you could do a bow as well if you wanted to. I was actually thinking a bow, but I think this will look very nice. Just a sweet little tie on, kind of frames that happy birthday for you. And then we'll trim that up with our scissors. And here it is. And it's pretty much ready to go now, right onto the front of our card. And a lot of times I'll attach my front panel with 4 dimensionals, just as I am here, when I have a ribbon wrap. It just gives the card a little bit of room to breathe. And so we'll just set this in, make sure all of our 4 borders are even, and there it is, the most beautiful card. So here's the one I've just done, here's the one I did in advance, and it's so beautiful and sparkly. I wish you could see it in person. It's just gorgeous. I must say, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd sure love it if you would. That way you'll get notifications every time I post a new video. Have a great day, and if you'd like to place an order, please visit my blog at www.stampingtoshare.com. Bye-bye.